All right, good morning, everyone. It's September 10th, 2020. Let's go ahead and get started on your lesson. All right, so we are going to continue with our dairy and eggs. So let me start this from current slide. Okay, so we left off here. You guys remember this? Move me down. All right, so let's get into butter. So there's several different types of butter. Judging by what type of milk it's from, what kind of cow it's from, how much butter fat there is in it, if it's sweet cream pasteurized, or if it's like a European style butter that's fermented cream with a higher butter fat. Depends on what your application is. I know a lot of baking and pastry, people tend to use the European style just because of the higher butterfat content. So it has like a more clean, like buttery taste and texture if you're using it for icings and stuff like that. So when you go to the store, you'll probably see several different types of butter. The thing you want to look for, it's not always the highest price butter that's the best. You just need to try a couple different ones. So sometimes there's like water content in there. So if you're using it to saute with, or if you're using it in heated applications, the water content will actually start making a lot of, I don't know, you put a piece of butter in a pan that's got a lot of water in it, it starts to just bubble and spat everywhere. So you just need to try them out. There are different types. So you have sticks and blocks. And then you have substitutes galore now. They have soy butters, olive oil butters, Smart Balance. When I was growing up, we always had a big tub of this stuff right here, the Country Crock Spread in the fridge. These are made with a different process. So these are either they're chemically made, so they're oil based, but the way they do this is they take the oil and they pump hydrogen into it. So it's called hydrogenized, and then it forms a solid mass. The only thing you can't really do with these, you can bake with these, you can add them to things for flavor, but if you are cooking French style types foods, you cannot finish sauces with these things. Like you can't make a hollandaise sauce with fake butter. It just does not work because it's just oil. And once it breaks down, they put water in these too. So these things have a lot of water content in them to kind of build them up. So it's not something you can use for a lot of culinary aspects. So that's the only bad side to it. And then you're not supposed to really eat that much hydrogen. We're trying to get back from that. Okay, let's keep moving. All right, so that is what we have for the butter. All right, so I'm going to show you this quick video on how to make cheese. It's a very good video. It shows you, like when we get back to school, we'll probably actually do this, but there's three basic parts to cheese. You have water, fat, and protein. Separate the milk solids the liquid whey in curdling, so you have your curds and whey, and then it's ripened or unripened cheeses. So let's watch this.
Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com, and as promised, I'm going to show you how to make your own cheese. That's right, we're going to make fresh, some people call it farmer's cheese, fromage blanc, just fresh white cheese. It's good, is what I call it. Here we go. We got milk, buttermilk, lemon juice, and salt. The ingredient amounts are crucial, so make sure you go to the site if you're not already there and get the amounts. We're going to pour our milk into a heavy-bottomed saucepan on very low heat. All right, now you want to stir it, not constantly, but you want to stir it pretty regularly so it doesn't get a skin or the bottom doesn't burn. And we're going to slowly bring that up to 175 degrees. Now, you're getting close. You'll see steam. You'll see little bubbles on the side of the pan. The safest way is to use one of these thermometers and go up to about 175, and then you're right. Man, I need to moisturize. Or you can just go right before it's about to simmer and just guess, which also works pretty much. As soon as you're to temperature, 175, you're going to pour in your buttermilk. You're going to pour in your lemon juice. So we're going to turn off the heat. You're just going to stir it real gently, and the milk is going to curdle. And basically what's going to happen here is going to break down into two things, curds and whey. Curds are the solids that you see there just starting to form, and the whey is...
All right, so when you add acid to milk, it coagulates the protein in there and turns it to curd.
That kind of watery liquid that separates away from the curds. Now, if this doesn't curdle within like 30 seconds, add another teaspoon of lemon juice. You can also use vinegar, and by then it should really start to separate like that. Yeah. You're going to let that sit for 10 minutes undisturbed. In the meantime, you're going to put a colander over a stock pot. You're going to take some cheesecloth. That's like the only special equipment you need. I have 4 layers of cheesecloth. All right, I'm going to push it against the sides of the colander. I'm going to take my cheese curds after the 10 minutes and ladle them into that colander wrapped with the cheesecloth, okay? And the whey is going to drain through, and it will just leave you with the curds. All right, so we're going to leave it in the colander for 5 minutes to drain. All right, now I'm going to gather that up. I'm going to take a string and just tie off the top, because I'm going to hang this over the stock pot, which is easily done by just tying it onto a wooden spoon, and then just hang it right over your stock pot, and that's going to sit for a half hour, and that is going to drain out. All right, so kitchen equipment. All right, I'm going to take my salt. If it's not salted...
So he's going to add seasoning to it, press it in a form, and then just let it refrigerate. So that was just milk, buttermilk, lemon juice, and salt. If you want a more solid mass of cheese, they add rennet to it, which kind of is another animal byproduct. So that's the cheese making process. And this is like a soft cheese. So we've made this at school before. And what you would do is we ended up using it for lasagna. We'd made it into like a type of ricotta. Okay, so we're gonna keep going. So unripened cheese, soft and white, eat soon after purchase. These would be your cottage cheese, goat cheese, which is up here, mascarpone, which is like a very creamy Italian cheese used for finishing products, desserts, cannolis, those kind of things. And then ricotta, which is another Italian cheese. If you guys have ever had a lasagna that looks like this, that stands up and it's got that layer of cheese in it, that's a ricotta cheese mixed with eggs. That'd be a good video demo too. And those are your unripe cheese. So unripe. Soft ripened, which is barely ripe, would be your bries, camemberts. If you've ever been to a wedding and they had the big pastry that had the cheese inside with the jam called the brie and croûte, that's another one. Okay, semi-soft cheese. It's done by the level of ripening for the cheese. One you guys probably have always heard of, Gouda. So I put a picture of a ham, like a Gouda ham and cheese up here, which looks really good. There's the Gouda wheel. Another one might be, there's Monterey Jack, then there's Pepper Jack. Pepper Jack has got a huge thing going right now. It's available at most places for sandwiches, melted on burgers. And then this one, how Gouda, there's 2 types of Gouda. There's smoked Gouda and there's just unsmoked Gouda. You see this ring around the outside of here, that's the smoked Gouda. These things are aged, smoked, and then dunked in a giant vat of hot wax, and that seals the complete outside so it doesn't ferment anymore. Okay, so the next one we're going to talk about is blue cheese. Blue or green mold injected in cheese before it ages, that's where it gets its veins. Has a creamy texture, strong flavor. I love blue cheese. This is what it looks like inside, and then I have a really good video of the blue cheese making process we're going to watch.
More than $20,000. To be authentic Cabrales, the milk must come from dairies in this small area.
Some of these cheese wheels in this place sell for $20,000.
And the wheels must spend at least 2 months aging in these natural caves to let the mold do its work. On today's episode, we'll learn why cheese aficionados will spend thousands of dollars for this delicacy. It all starts with the milk at the Vega de Jardín Cheese Factory. Run by 6 generations of Dorita Diaz's family, the old traditional ways of making cabrales are now blended with modern technology.
Hoy ya ordeñamos las vacas por mediación de un robot que la máxima tecnología. La vaca va a ordeñarse cuando ella siente la necesidad de ser ordeñada. Y antiguamente no, se ordeñaba a la mañana y a la noche.
Each cow wears a collar that tells the machine it's ready to be milked. It also collects data like fat and protein levels and the temperature of the milk. This helps Dorita select the highest quality milk for her cheese.
Te puede dar un porcentaje de queso de 30 a 40 piezas.
The raw milk chills for 24 hours before going in this tank, where it thickens and curdles. The top layer is first cut by machine to form the curds. Then, the smaller pieces are smashed by hand. Each mold is labeled with the date, and the curds are piled up to form the wheel. Some cheese brands are squeezed into shape and later injected with mold, but not authentic Cabrales. They overflow because as the cheese rests, the curds fall into place to leave pockets for the fungus to naturally seep in. Then comes 2 rounds of salting and resting.
Una vez que el queso absorbió la sal, pasa a una sala de secado donde permanece entre 15 y 20 días. Una vez que ese queso ya secó, pasa a otra fase, que es la maduración en cuevas naturales.
The super high humidity and cool temperatures of the limestone cave make up the perfect conditions for a strain of Penicillium fungus to grow. It worms its way into the center of the wheel as it ages, forming the signature blue-green veins. The wheels get occasionally turned and cleaned, and the longer the cheese spends in the cave, the softer it gets inside.
El queso de Cabrales es especial por el sabor tan peculiar que tiene.
So you guys saw that. Salted curds, aged for the cheese part, left big. You know, they didn't press that cheese. That's the main reason you get the blue veins inside so well. It's not a compact cheese. So once it goes into the cave, it's naturally cave aged with the penicillin mold that grows in the cave. The cheaper way they do this now is they just inject it with mold. That's the fast way. So that's what makes that cave aged cheese $20,000, and it makes the non-cave aged cheese $20. So a lot of people didn't know how they get the blue vein in there, but a lot of, typically, traditionally, it's natural mold in the cave. Okay, other cheeses, this is a firm ripe cheese. So these will be your cheddars, Colby Swiss, Gruyere. Cheddars, the difference with them, if you go to the store and you see how it says mild, medium, sharp, very sharp, that is the age of the cheese. So the older a cheese gets, the more pungent, or not, but sharp. That's the sharp thing. So some of the moisture will evaporate out of it and just condenses the cheese flavor and then condenses the fat, and that's what gives it that sharper flavor, and it gives it a firmer texture. So Swiss cheese, I was looking this up. I've heard different stories of how they get the pockets in there. So scientists in Switzerland wanted to research how it ended up happening, and what, back in the day, they went to milk the cows, and hay particles from the barns would get into the buckets where they were milking the cow, and those would actually ferment and create gas because it get mixed in with the milk, and the gas would create those large big bubbles in the cheese. But through time, when they started using some more of those fancy mechanisms where they spray down the cows and sanitize them really well and then hook up the machine that's sterilized, those hay particles were not getting in there anymore. Or if there was very minimal. So the bubbles were starting to get a lot smaller. But that's how the original ones got these pockets. And then you have your hard cheeses. So your very hard ripened bacterial culture and enzymes ripen these cheeses. Also dried in usually caves or very cool, typically underground type places. I think in Italy they have several that are built on the side of a mountain too. So those are your Asiago, Parmigiano Reggiano, Pecorino Romano, Cotija, and then this is how they're stored. So these are like 30 to 50 pound wheels of cheese. It's not like the little shakers you see at the store. And then here's the fresh cheeses. So these are your Mozzarellas, provolones, string cheese. Traditional mozzarella was made from this animal right here, the buffalo, the water buffalo in Italy. So it was traditionally buffalo milk mozzarella. It wasn't made from a cow. All right, so with eggs, and then tomorrow we're going to go over, the applications for these cheeses. Eggs. Here's the inner workings of an egg. You have the shell, you have the yolk, you have the whites, which has the albumin in it. Albumin is a clarifying agent, so that's why you'll see in some recipes we do, you'll be using egg whites to filter things because you want that albumin. And then you have this thing called the chalazae. It's this little, it basically attaches the yolk inside the whites on the top and bottom to keep it from moving. Grading eggs, you have A, or double A, and B. And it's basically age and almost like the age of the chicken, I believe, too. So grade A, like double A, you want a bright yellow yolk that's tall. And then when you can tell by the degradation of the protein in an egg. So when you crack an egg and it spews out all over the plate like a raw egg, it's older, and that'd be your grade B because it's not held together. Grade A, you open them and they hold their shape. So that's the difference. It's just how much it kind of flows out, and that's just basically the proteins in it. Different size eggs. You can't really find many of these. You see large, medium, extra large at the store, but you're not going to find small, peewee, and jumbos. But those are just the different egg sizes. Fresh shell eggs. Oh, this is for cooking. So you have your fresh shell eggs, and then you have your cartoned eggs, frozen eggs, boil in the bag eggs. I'll show you some pictures of these tomorrow with different applications. The frozen eggs are good if you have bulk people, if you have a large quantity of people that you're cooking for. Sorry. If you have a large quantity of people you're cooking for, because you don't have to crack all those eggs. And you don't have to risk getting egg shells in your food. And typically, salmonella comes from the egg shells, not the inside of the egg. So if you drop egg shells into your eggs, that's how you can contaminate them. And then at the store, you can also get these liquid eggs. Like I used to eat egg beaters because my cholesterol was ridiculous. So they have the cholesterol-free eggs. They have egg whites, just depending on what you're wanting to get. Then dried eggs, egg substitutes, which are like the cholesterol-free ones. And then organic eggs. Those you got to be careful with because there's a lot of guidelines for organic or free range. There is real free range stuff, don't get me wrong. But according to USDA guidelines, I believe free range means if you have 10 million chickens in a giant warehouse, as long as there's one little door that goes outside to a pen that is like 10 feet by 10 feet of a cage, that's considered free range. But some people go above and beyond. So they actually have free range where the chickens eat natural foods. They move them, from place to place across a pasture. I mean, there's a lot to it. We'll get into that another time. Receiving and storing eggs, receive at 45 degrees or below, store at 41. Don't get these too cold because they will freeze. Shell egg, make sure there's no odor to them. They're not broken. And you'll see this when you go to the store. Every time I buy eggs, open up the carton, make sure there's nothing broken. Funny story, I bought an 18-pack of eggs yesterday. The handle slipped out of my hand or broke on the cheap plastic bag, and 18-pack went straight to the ground, and I saved them. I just took them all out, but had 9 eggs broke. Awesome. So that is the lecture for today. So that's the storing of the eggs. Tomorrow, oh wait, here's some. I'm not even done with it, I'm sorry. So there's the different cookings, and this is what I'm going to show you videos of tomorrow. So the different types of hard cooked, which I showed you guys, and applications for those. Shirred eggs, where you bake them. Poaching eggs, we'll show you that too, and then what you do with the poached egg afterwards. Scrambling eggs, which there's 2 types. There's scrambled in a pan, and there's whipped. You got to remember this. Fried, all different temperatures. And then there's, sunny side up over easy, basted, omelets, frittatas, quiches, soufflés, pooled eggs, storage. So those are the different types, and that's what we're going to go over tomorrow with the videos of what they look like and what you can do with these. All right. All right. You guys have a great day. I'm going to stop this, and I'll see you in a little bit.